You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, we're going to discuss some of the things coming out of the Bulls All Access video that they released about their training camp. There was one thing that was made very, very evident and clear to me in this video, and that's Ayo Dosunmu is about to be an X factor for the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Bulls fans? You're now tuned in to another episode of Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Haize. I'm host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you guys by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it for today. So I want to start off with this. So, the All Access video was dropped over the weekend for the Chicago Bulls. I think it was dropped about midday Friday in regards to the Chicago Bulls and showing a lot of the insight in training camp. And there are a couple of things to take away from the insight in training camp there. Some of the things I've already talked about over on Central, but one thing that I want to focus on here and something that I've seen has been evident throughout how the Bulls are talked about, as well as kind of inside, internally and externally, right? From outside things like, sources like Bleacher Report and other things that don't necessarily follow the Bulls day in and day out, but also some of us Bulls fans as well in regards to Ayo Dosunmu. And one of the things that stood out in this video that kind of got this thought process started for me was the fact that we saw Ayo Dosunmu basically leading practice in a way. Right now, let me be clear here. It was a like 9-minute video overall, so it's not like it's not like a documentary or anything. But we did see two specific instances in that video in just those 9 minutes of Ayo Dosunmu sitting down, talking to the team, as far as like saying, hey, this is what we want to do here defensively. This is why we're doing this. You guys got to dig in. You guys got to do this. This is the concept of the play that we're trying to run, which was really good to see Ayo leading that. But then on top of that, there was another one where Ayo Dosunmu was talking to Zach LaVine and is saying, hey, Zach, here's what we want to do here. And Zach LaVine, you saw it. Zach LaVine was attentively looking and listening to Ayo Dosunmu. And I think a part that we're wondering with this Bulls team is who's going to step in as that next vocal leader for the Bulls. And I think that what we've seen so far is there's a large indication that that guy may be Ayo Dosunmu. And we're really starting to see it. And I think him and Kobe may do it in tandem, right? I'm not saying in any way this stops Kobe White from stepping and growing into a leadership role either. But I think we're seeing that Ayo, who has shown a little bit of that, right? Like even in his rookie year, we saw Ayo when DeMar DeRozan was getting fired up, him kind of pull him to the side like, hey, man, let's chill here. We don't need a tech right here. And so we're seeing those little bits and pieces of leadership over the last 3 years for Ayo Dosunmu, and now stepping into a role where the Bulls clearly need that. I think Ayo Dosunmu can be that vocal leader that we're hoping develops next for the Chicago Bulls. But then even outside of that, right, I want to be clear with that. It's not just about the vocal leadership portion of it. I think Ayo's stepping into a year where, for the first time ever, his role is clearly defined, right? When you look at Ayo Dosunmu's first year, he was a rookie. It's hard to have a clearly defined rookie or a second-round pick, and even Billy Donovan said it, that they thought that Ayo Dosunmu was going to spend some time down in the G League, but that didn't happen, right? Like, because of injuries and just his performance, his defense, he ended up getting out there on the court. And then coming into that season after that, his second year, he was coming in, he earned the starting point guard role over the course of that season, but that was still a team that had veterans in Vooch and DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. And Ayo's own personal performance wasn't the best. It was up and down. And he eventually got demoted to the bench. Patrick Beverley came in. And then in year 3, after signing his contract in the offseason, there were still some questions coming into that season on, all right, what's Ayo's role is going to be? Kobe won that starting point guard role. Zach LaVine was healthy coming into that season. The Bulls had, hope that Zach was going to stay healthy. Zach went down. Ayo stepped up. He played a mix between starter, coming off the bench, having one of the best season of his career when you look at the numbers, also the efficiency, it's shooting the ball, things like that. And so now he comes in to this season after Alex Caruso's moved. Josh Giddey's come into this team. Josh Giddey's going to be the starting point guard, Kobe at the 2, Zach LaVine more than likely at the 3. And so Ayo's coming in with a defined role of, hey, he's the first guard off the bench. He's still going to play starter level minutes at a bare minimum. He may even play more than some starters when it's all said and done. And he really gets to build off of the things that he did the last few years, right? Looking at Ayo last year, he played the 1, the 2, and the 3 last year in some spot minutes for the Bulls. And that's going to be a really important role for this Bulls team coming into this year, right? Having that defined role, while it's not a defined singular position, it's a defined role. And even kind of more so, he's the guy that could end up being the glue guy to make this combination of Giddey, LaVine, and Coby White work, because we know the chemistry him and Coby White have. He can play next to Zach LaVine. We've seen that a little bit as well. He can play multiple positions, can guard multiple positions. And if that three-point shooting that Ayo Dosunmu showed a lot last season ends up being that 40% shooting, I would say this, even if Ayo goes down to 37, 38% shooting from three-point range, that's still a lot of three-point shooting, efficient three-point shooting that this Bulls team is going to need even more so. So I really think that Ayo is really stepping into this place where he is going to be the X factor for the Bulls because he may be the first player off the bench. Him and Jalen Smith are the two guys that I look at, or they're going to absolutely have defined roles off this bench. Jalen because of necessity, also hopefully because of his play, but Ayo Dosunmu because of his versatility off the bench. And we've seen it in other teams before, right? The thing that we always say, role players matter. And not to limit Ayo Dosunmu to being a role player for his entire career, I do think that Ayo Dosunmu has starter level upside. But when you look at Ayo and how every month, and Bobby talked about this on Friday when we had an episode, he got better every month of the season. Every single month of the season, he got better. And so you want to empower a player like that. And I think Ayo's coming in with the confidence. He's coming in with the role. He's coming in with the need as well with having a wing defender and as versatile as Ayo Dosunmu can be defensively, especially after losing a guy like Alex Caruso, that Ayo's really, really going to be a hugely important role for this Bulls team. And he could very well be the biggest X factor for this team. There are going to be some other X factors. There are going to be some other things that matter for this team, but Ayo may end up being one of the biggest X factors for this team, already being one of the guys who's benefited the most from Peter Patton and the player development department, those type of things. Like looking at Ayo Dosunmu post All-Star break last year, right? Post All-Star break, 23 games post All-Star break, 17 minutes per game on 49.5% shooting from the field, taking 13 shots per game. He also shot the ball 38% from three, taking 5 3-pointers per game, almost 4 rebounds, over 5 assists, over a steal and a half per game, a half a block per game, and he had 2 turnovers per game. You want to see that get a little bit lower. His turnovers weren't that bad on the season, but I think post All-Star break, he was asked to do a lot more ball handling. Keep in mind, Coby White missed a lot of time. Well, he was kind of hobbled after All-Star break. He didn't miss a lot of time, but he didn't miss some time after All-Star break. And then Coby wasn't quite himself for the remainder of that season, despite, other than a few games. So that played a part into it as well. But Ayo is really in a position to really benefit from it. And I said this over on Central. I'm going to bring it back here as well. People got to start putting more respect on Ayo Dosunmu's name. I've seen so many articles that talk about, the Bulls' young guys, Coby, Josh Giddey, Modest Bucilis, and Zach LaVine is really important. I'm telling y'all right now, Ayo Dosunmu deserves for his name to be mentioned right there with Coby White. His name deserves to be mentioned right there with Josh Giddey. His name deserves to be mentioned right there with Zach LaVine because he's more versatile defensively. Ayo Dosunmu needs his respect. And I've held myself accountable before it as well. I've done it. Everybody's done it. People need to start realizing, because I tell you what, if the Bulls don't start respecting Ayo Dosunmu more and understanding the importance that Ayo Dosunmu has, he's a restricted free agent at the end of next season. And I guarantee you, whereas it was different in his restricted free agency, if Ayo Dosunmu has another year like he did last year, the Bulls, their team's going to be coming a knocking the moment Ayo Dosunmu becomes a free agent, an unrestricted free agent. And so I tell you what, I know he's from Chicago. I know he loves playing for the Chicago Bulls team, but I tell you what, you can only lose for so long. And especially if you're on a team that everybody keeps prioritizing other pieces while you're the guy that's making this shit work. I tell you, keep overlooking and doubting Ayo Dosunmu all you want, because Ayo Dosunmu very well has the next chance to be the guy that we're looking back on 2 and 3 years from now. Like, hey, you remember when he played here? Yeah, he just helped the Denver Nuggets win a title. He definitely has the potential to be that. Put some respect on Ayo Dosunmu's name. And if you don't, I tell you what, he's going to force you to. So people can keep overlooking Ayo Dosunmu all they want. But Ayo Dosunmu is a guy that, I tell you, he has the launching pad, he has the ability, he has the chip on his shoulder, and he has the desire. Keep that in mind, the desire to grow in this league. And he's not done yet. I'll tell you what right now, keep in mind, Ayo Dosunmu, look out for him to be an X factor for this Bulls team as soon as this season. Because I tell you, Ayo Dosunmu isn't taking anything lightly. He's not coming in here expecting to give up minutes to anybody. You're going to have to take it from Ayo Dosunmu, because I tell you what, Ayo's about to have a big season. You heard it here first. Barring, of course, injury or anything like that, Ayo Dosunmu is about to have a really big season for the Chicago Bulls, and probably a season that we really need on top of all of that. But going forward, we're going to talk about two other guys that are trying to crack that rotation for the Chicago Bulls. And when we talk about, can Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips crack the rotation meaningfully for the Chicago Bulls this season? We're going to talk about all that. But first, we got to get into a message from BetterHelp. All right, guys, just want to make it clear this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's something that scares you? Share a fear, no matter how big or small. Halloween lets us have fun with what scares us. But what about those fears that don't involve zombies and ghosts? Therapy is a great tool for facing your fears and finding ways to overcome them. Because sometimes the scariest thing is not facing our fears in the first place or holding ourselves accountable. By the way, I know some of y'all are afraid of y'all women. Make sure y'all tell her that sports are coming up, the basketball season and football season's going on, so she don't be beating on y'all. And again, if she does beat on y'all, BetterHelp can help you get the therapy you need to leave that damaged relationship. With that said, if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out the brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA to go ahead and get yourself some BetterHelp. All right, Bulls fans. With that said, let's get into the second topic for today. I always love starting off the week right? Like starting off like, Bull, think about this. Tomorrow, I will be giving a post-game show over on this channel tomorrow. That's where we are at in the season. We got games to talk about right around the corner. And one of the things that need to be kind of still determined for this team is the rotation for Billy Donovan and this coaching staff. And two of the players that are really hoping to crack this rotation this year are Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips. Now, will they crack the rotation in a meaningful way is the biggest question here, right? So Billy Donovan is a coach that typically only goes 8 or 9 deep, right? Now, he does have a 10th guy that kind of fluctuates in there that then, doesn't get consistent minutes, but when they do play, they get some minutes. And for right now, and I'm not saying the 10th guy in the priority. I know Lonzo Ball fans are about to pull their hair out when I say this, but as of right now, Lonzo's the 10th guy. And by that, I mean that he's the guy that fluctuates. And that's just by the nature of him not being on a minutes restriction, not playing back-to-backs. Lonzo Ball is kind of factored in to be that 10th guy in the rotation because you just don't know how often he's going to be out there, how long he's going to be out there. So for the nature of the type of conversation we're having here, I'm going to put Lonzo Ball in as the 10th guy. He's the fluctuating guy, right? So your starting five is projected to be Zach LaVine, Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Patrick Williams, and Nikola Vucevic. With Ayo Dosunmu being the 10th guy, right? That's 6 guys in your rotation. You have Ayo Dosunmu and Dalen Terry. That's your 8 guys right there, right? So that leaves 2 more guys to get rotation minutes for this Bulls team. And I do think Modest Bucilis is going to be a guy that if he doesn't start off the season get minutes, I do think the majority of the season he is going to get minutes for the Chicago Bulls. That takes you to 9, right? That takes you to 9 right there. So that means that Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips, now they're going to be some games where they both play, especially when Lonzo sits. So they're both going to get opportunity. But they still got guys like Torrey Craig ahead of them. They got guys like Chris Duarte ahead of them who's going to be trying, as somebody who's been in this league going into their 4th year, is going to be trying to crack that rotation. Torrey Craig, the veteran who kind of can do whatever you need as a role player. So that gets those guys in there. And that's not to mention if a guy like Javon Carter gets his life together, he won't. Don't worry about it. So you have that. And so it comes down to Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips showing something that makes Billy Donovan feels like they offer what the Bulls need, whether it be in defense, whether it be in transition, whether it be in shooting, right? They offer something that Billy Donovan needs to get minutes out of. And that's one of the biggest questions here. And this is one of the things to look out for as we go through these 5 preseason games for the Chicago Bulls. It is 5, right? Yes, 5 preseason games for the Chicago Bulls over how the back end of that rotation shakes out. Because keep in mind, while I mentioned guys like Torrey Craig and Chris Duarte who are trying to crack that rotation, right? You still got guys that are trying to prove that they can make the roster and crack the rotation and earn a lot of Patim, THT, right? These guys. So it's a nice competition right now to get those minutes, to find your 10 guys in your rotation. And what I think Julian and Dalen have to do respectively, for Dalen Terry, to me, it comes down to Dalen and the defense first. That's the first thing for me is Dalen Terry and defense. What is Dalen Terry bringing consistently defensively? And with that, if he's bringing enough defensively versatility for you, then all right, what is he bringing in transition? What is he bringing passing wise? Is he shooting a lot better? Right? But I think for Dalen Terry, the first and foremost thing that Dalen Terry needs to bring is defense and energy. And if he's bringing the defense and energy, that can be a path for him to crack this rotation for the Bulls. Now, it's not enough for him to stay in the rotation, but it's enough for him to initially crack that rotation, but he's going to have to bring more than that. This is not a season to me where, especially if you have a guy like Chris Duarte, who's brought some defense and some shooting, that if Dalen Terry is only bringing defense, he's not hitting the open shots naturally. He's not getting out in transition. He's not slashing to the rim. If those things aren't happening for Dalen Terry, I don't know if he stays cracking that rotation for the Chicago Bulls. That's the thing that we have to do. So again, it's really something that you have to watch here for Dalen Terry to ask yourself, is Dalen Terry going to be able to bring those things consistently on what's going to be able to be needed? So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I will say this when it comes to Dalen Terry, he did start showing some things last season, right? When you look at how Dalen Terry was playing instinctively last year, he was slashing to the rim at the right times. He was taking the shot kind of more confidently towards the end of that season, and he hit it okay. I think he ended that season in the last month shooting like 40% from three-point range. Let me verify that real quick. Give me 1 second. Let's see what he did here to end the season. So the last month of the season, Dalen Terry shot the ball 52% from the field, taking 5 shots per game. From three-point range, it was 25%, so still trash there. And he was scoring six points per game. Now, that's not great, right? That's why I say, like, he's going to have to bring more than that. But this is a player that started shooting better. When you look at March, 46% from the field, and then he shot 18% from three. Not good, right? And then let's go to Julian Phillips. This is a guy who I think theoretically brings a lot of what the Bulls could need off the bench and could fit in with the up-tempo play style. But again, he's going to have to show it, right? So Julian Phillips, a guy that started cracking the rotation before he got hurt last year for the Chicago Bulls, but now with the change of roster makeup, things like that, you can't assume that he's going to just get that now starting off. He's gotten up to 210 pounds. He came into the league at 197. He's 6'8", 6'9", almost 6'9". And this is a guy that does theoretically bring some shooting, bring some shot blocking, bring some defense, can play out in transition, but he's going to have to consistently show those things. And much like with Dalen Terry, I do think he's going to have to show it first defensively. Defensively is going to have to be the first thing. Defensively, and I love what Shadow Master here is saying. I think Phillips can be used like Green was being used in that lineup. I think Julian Phillips offers the best combination of what like a Derrick Jones Jr. and a Javonte Green brought last year. Potentially. Now, again, potential doesn't always mean that it's going to be realistic. But it is potentially Julian Phillips can bring some of that combination between those two players. He has more size than the Javonte Green, but he does have some of the same athleticism. So if Julian is bringing that, for Julian, to me, it's attacking closeouts. It's going after putbacks. It's getting those type of rebounds, right? Blocking shots, which is something that we saw from him as well last year. And so Julian's also ability to run the court from baseline to baseline is going to be really important as well. Can he cut? That's the thing that I'm looking for Julian Phillips. I don't think there's a world in which, unless there's injuries that happen, that both these guys crack the rotation. Now, if they do, let's say that they do, that would mean that they showed so much in preseason and training camp that Billy Donovan feels like they offer the best situation for the Bulls to win basketball games. I'm not here to count anybody out. But this is what I think that Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry will have to do to get minutes on the Chicago Bulls team next season. Can they do it? We'll start being able to formalize that picture. We got 2 games this week. Tuesday and Saturday we play this week. So we'll see what that brings about for the Chicago Bulls. But ultimately, hey, let me know what you guys think down below if you're on the YouTube side. Do you think that Dalen Terry and or Julian Phillips can crack the rotation meaningfully this season for the Chicago Bulls? Let me know that down below. All right, y'all. So with that said, next up, we're going to be talking about the Bulls signing yet another player to an Exhibit 10 deal. This is after the Josh Primo nonsense and waiving Marcus Domas. But this is a player that's been around before. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but first we got to get into the message from FanDuel. All right, fans, everydayers, I've been talking to you guys about FanDuel for a long time, and FanDuel continues coming with the deals to give you even more value than what they already offer. And so you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I'm not a betting man myself, but for my guys that do bet, you already know how much of a leg up that can get you by being able to place your bets on the same exact page where you're getting your stats, where you're getting your analysis, where you're getting your updates. Being able to do that all for one page simplifies things so you don't have to go out to ESPN. You don't have to go out to Basketball Reference. You don't have to go out to these other places to try to get the information you need to make an informed bet. FanDuel is giving that to you all on the same page where you place your bet, gives you a leg up on other betting sites. So make sure you guys do that. The other sports books, I should say. You get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Listen, some of y'all are broke and still trying to place bets. You get $200 in bonus bets with just $5. $5. That means you can still get your 4 for 4 at Wendy's, but get a little bit of extra money to still place your bets. Because I know a lot of y'all eating them 4 for 4s. With that said, visit FanDuel.com right now. Again, get $200 in bonus bets. Just go to FanDuel.com. All right, Bulls fans. Listen, I'm helping y'all with y'all mental. With BetterHelp, I'm helping y'all place bets and make some money with FanDuel. I'm giving y'all the latest Bulls news and analysis. What else do you need from me? I'm trying to improve y'all life. That's what I do here at Locked On Bulls. I'm not just a sports analyst. I help improve lives. That's what we do here. But with that said, let's talk about improving the life of a player. So the Chicago Bulls have given out yet another Exhibit 10 deal. Still no one-day contract for Derrick Rose. I'm going to shut up, though. But they've signed Ben Coupet Jr. to an Exhibit 10 deal. This is a guy who's been down with the Windy City Bulls for a while. And keep in mind, when you sign an Exhibit 10 camp deal, that gets you a little bit of extra money. So this guy is really destined for the Windy City Bulls. I don't think there's any real plan to bring him up to the next level for the Chicago Bulls. This is just helping a guy that's been in your system for a while get a little bit of extra money. That's really all that is. And that's how the Bulls have really used the Exhibit 10 for quite a while. You go back to Derek Favors last year, the Bulls signing him to an Exhibit 10 deal to get him a little bit of extra money as a veteran. He was a nice veteran presence for that team. And this is a guy who's been with the Windy City Bulls since the 2022-23 season. So this is going to be his 3rd year now down there with the Windy City Bulls. A little bit of an older player. As well. I think he's 27 years old. He'll be 27 in January. So again, this isn't one of those picks that the Bulls have or signings that the Bulls have tried to sign really high upside guys that can really maybe develop a little bit more. This is a guy who's pretty much, you know what he's going to be. I don't think he's ever played a regular season game for the Chicago Bulls. Over the course of his 2 years down in the G League with the Windy City Bulls, he's averaged 3.5 points per game. He's done that on 34% shooting. Not good at all there. 34% from 3. Okay. He is a 6'7", 185-pound forward. So at least the Bulls signed a forward instead of another guard, I guess, right? But ultimately, what does this signing amount to? Nothing. I just want to be there. It's nothing. This isn't a great signing. So, that's what it is when it comes down to it. This is just a signing for the Bulls to help one of their guys out. And I'm not mad at that. Like the Exhibit 10 deals, to me, I think Bulls fans, and I don't know about any other franchise. I don't follow any other franchise close enough to know how their fan base reacts to Exhibit 10 deals of all. I'm a Bulls fan. I host two of the best Chicago Bulls podcasts you're going to find out there on the net. By the way, if you have a problem with that, you can come see me. But with that said, I think Bulls fans have made more of an Exhibit 10 deal than what it really means. They did that with Josh Primo. All the think pieces over the 6 hours that Josh Primo was signed to an Exhibit 10 deal really was just like, come on, y'all. What are we doing here? And now, THC signed to an Exhibit 10 deal, all these type of things. Like, ultimately, Exhibit 10 deals offer no risk at all. I don't care who you're signing. You could sign JDH right now to an Exhibit 10 deal, and he'll roll his happy ass in there, and it doesn't mean nothing. You can sign Shea to an Exhibit 10 deal. He'll stroll his happy butt in there, and it don't matter. It doesn't matter. It's an Exhibit 10 deal. Can we stop getting all up in arms about what the Bulls are doing with an Exhibit 10 deal? Most of y'all didn't even know what an Exhibit 10 deal was until 2 years ago. Let's just stop it. Let's stop it. It doesn't mean anything. It does not mean anything. You can cut them. You can sign them. You can do it. It does not mean very much at all for the Bulls' future. It doesn't mean very much for the Bulls' present. It's a G League deal. It's so somebody can get in here and work out. That's it, man. That's all it is. So, I get it. All the think pieces, all the reactions to Exhibit 10 deals. I get it and I understand it to a degree. But let's calm down. Let's calm down. We got basketball games coming soon. Hopefully that will eliminate some of the extra reactionary stuff from Bulls fans that we've seen over the last 7 days, because basketball is coming back. And that's the most important thing. Basketball is coming back. We'll be breaking down a game. We'll be previewing tomorrow here going down at 11 a.m. Chicago time, 12 p.m. noon. I'll be previewing a game. That's what we got to talk about. Not overreacting to Josh Primo being signed or not. It don't matter. But that's the updates for the Chicago Bulls today, man. I love you guys, man. Thank you guys for all the support and everything that you guys have meant to the growth of this channel. We're going to keep it pushing. This is the first year of me hosting this channel completely solo. But as you guys have seen, we're going to be getting guys in and out of here. I already got some special guests lined up as well for a couple of episodes. So make sure you guys stay in tune with that one. You guys can follow us at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me personally at CEO Haize. And thank you for tuning in, making Locked On Bulls your first listen every single day. Now for your second listen, go and check out Locked On NBA, where the Locked On experts are breaking down everything going on in the NBA 7 days a week. And soon to come, going to be getting more than one episode over there a day. So make sure you guys stay tuned in. Go and subscribe over there to Locked On NBA. You may even see my face over there from time to time. But that's my time for today, guys, man. I love you guys. See red, go Bulls, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys tomorrow to talk about basketball. Peace, y'all.